Joining me now, we can hardly keep a straight face together, my great pal Charles Payne, host of Making Money. Well, Charles, making money, what do you make of this?
Well, first of all, that was an amazing introduction considering I interrupted you in my... But when you said the earnings are coming out on Thursday.
Would have been spiffy.
I think someone took a look at those numbers like, all right, do we accept the offer now? Because after Thursday, it's going to be a lot less.
That's a great point. The stock had been already down a third over the past year, so the stock would have collapsed even more.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, you want to talk about total victory. To get 54.20, that was a farce, right? It was the 420 as Elon giving it to him, remember the time I was smoking weed on Joe Rogan and all these folks came out and said that my company wasn't going to make it for the 1 millionth time. The same people have been wrong over and over and over and over again. So, yeah, I think management just, there's a song and a movie, Take the Money and Run, right? The Steve Miller Band. And not your boy, Steve Miller, but the other Steve Miller, right. And Woody Allen. Take the money and run.
Yeah.
And so that's great. He's going in there, and he's going to engineer free speech. And to your point, the vitriolic attitude by the media is crazy. It's nuts.
Did you see some stuff going on our so-called competitive network, which ain't so competitive anymore with us, but... This morning,
I was watching this morning, and I got to tell you, the disingenuous, honestly, when this bid initially came out, the moment it came out, the conversation there was, well, how does he get financing, this and that? I went off. I went on Twitter and said, listen, this is just BS. This is not what the real conversation is, Then today it was like, you think it'd succeed? It sort of went, it's just...
Nah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Axios had a piece where they compare him to Jay Gould, the robber baron, and it says he was an unlikable robber baron. He was a great businessman, but he was unscrupulous. Just think about this guy. You talk about creating an automobile industry that revolutionizes the auto industry out of nothing. Going back to space when America gave up on it. We're building tunnels on our country right now that'll take us from New York to California like that. I mean, it's just, and some of the other things, the Starlink, the Optimus robot. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, people will be doing things that they never imagined they would have the freedom to do because of Elon Musk.
Which, by the way, now that you mention it, and I didn't read the Axios thing. I sort of given up on Axios. Really, it's so lefty, but still, now that you mention it. You know what? The Gilded Age was a fabulous period in American history of unbelievable prosperity and technological advances and jobs and job creation and wages. I mean, the so-called robber barons, they're robber barons from left-wing historians. They actually did so much to make this the greatest country in the world, the greatest economy in the world. I got to do a whole riff on this about the importance of the Gilded Age.
I agree with you 1,000,000%.
Which that TV show did not give credit to. That TV show was biased to the left again. This is like, this was a fabulous period.
It was the pivot for America and humanity. It's when we started to overtake Great Britain as the preeminent country in the world. And it freed people up from having to work to eat, to live. You had to go to work, make just enough money to feed yourself, or go to the farm and create enough food to feed yourself, and hope you live through the winter. We became a consumer society. In fact, the Chicago World's Fair.
Yes,
That's it.
That was it.
Skyscrapers.
That was the pinnacle.
The Ferris wheel.
Yes.
Cotton candy, whatever. It was just amazing what we could do. We got machines to do work for us, and out of the process, we got extra money, consumer discretionary money. I mean, it's just amazing, to your point. And the people who were the architects of that became somehow evil.
Right. So these dingbats on the left, this is all a bunch of left-wing historians, by left-wing media echoes, but they're going to go crazy now. They're going to, I mean, the pharmaceutical tranquilizer industry is going to be really called upon to help the left.
Yeah.
What are they going to do here?
I do worry about retribution. I really do. I mean, listen, they're never going to deviate. We've seen that, and it's unfortunate.
Well, they're stuck now. They're screwed. You can print conservative points of view. I mean, my thought here, Look, you want to post something on Twitter, post it. Again, my view has always been, we post, you decide. It's up to people to decide what's right and what's wrong. You know what I mean? It's like good reporting. We report, you decide. This is a whole different ballgame on Twitter. And I think the left's going to go crazy. 7 months before the election, too. How amusing is that?
Yeah, I know. But it's just like, this is going to kill democracy. You know, these overbearing, you know, I mean, you kick so many people off for no reason. You throttle folks, you intimidate them. It's, you know, listen, I was kicked off earlier this year for 10 days, but for no official reason.
Oh.
It's so interesting, though, the day before that, I had a negative tweet about Mark Benioff, who's an amazing CEO, you know, far left, owns Time Magazine, how ironic, you know, he owns a big public square himself. And I just think, you know, my whole beef with all these guys, Larry, is I've been trying to get a lot of them on my show for years. And, you know, the only time if I was talking about food stamps and inclusion and higher minimum wage, they show up in a heartbeat. Right? So I just hate the phoniness of the left. I really do. I despise it. And I think what's shocking to me is how much they control the airwaves, and yet regular people still get it. Like, theoretically, they should control everything. Every Supreme Court seat should be a lefty, every congressperson, because they control everything. And yet, through all of that noise, regular people figure it out over and over again. And that's what we need to try to keep more of a balance of.
Look, I love the fact, too, to the last point, that this takeover for free speech, okay, was done as an investment vehicle, like free market capitalism. Because a lot of my conservative friends wanted the government to get involved and the government to issue regulations and the government, frankly, to pick winners and losers, which I think is a lousy idea. Here's the private sector at work. Here's capitalism. Here's, you know, free markets, free financial markets at work, which I think there's an important lesson there, too.
There is. You got to be careful when you start to use the government to I mean, even down in Florida, as much as I thought that was a crazy law, I mean, crazy carve-out for Disney. You know, if you frame that we're going to take it from them as retaliation, then you open it up for further retaliation instead of just saying this is simply stupid. There's no way in the world any company should have, in effect, their own sovereign nation inside of a state. So having said that, I agree with you. You got to be very careful when you start turn the wheels of government to become, I wouldn't say a weapon, but an equalizer.
No, that's right.
Because these other folks will make it a weapon.
And they won't like it. I mean, the conservatives
it's tough when they turn it back around on you.
They may not like it. That's exactly right. Charles Payne, can you put a syndicate together to buy Facebook? Huh? Is that the next step here?
That's a little bit more of a
oh,
I'll tell you what, though.
I'll make calls for you.
At the rate Mark Zuckerberg is gone, if we wait long enough, we might be able to put together. Yeah.
He'll be gone. That thing's just crashing, too. It's very interesting. The tide is turning. The tide is turning. The cavalry is coming. Elon Musk. It may have been a surprise and an unlikely thing, but
How beautiful, though. He got it he said, this is my best offer. Everyone went crazy, and they took the offer. Wait till Thursday when those numbers come out. I think we'll find out why there was a sense of urgency to take the money and run.
Charles Payne, the best of the best. We had a good laugh during the opening riff. I love that. Catch Charles weekdays, making money at 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fox Business. We're going to put a syndicate together and buy out Facebook, Charles, and you're going to run it. You're going to be the CEO.
First 1,000, I'm putting in the first grand.
I'm just going to sit here and comment on the thing like I always do.